pray. And when I begin to go out, the more I begin to go out, the more and more when I begin to hear her heart in those settings, because we would ask questions and people would ask questions and I would hear her responses. I saw a part of her that I had never seen before, and I started getting checks in my heart like, wow, wow, that's great. So it wasn't until we actually found ourselves in different settings and we saw our friends under pressure. One of our friends were in a dating relationship who had broken off, and we sort of both consoled them and sort of strengthened both of them and said, hey, we still have to go on with the Lord. But through that whole experience, what I'm basically saying is that through those crumbs you're talking about, Josiah, just one thing at a time, I start feeling life from her. So I do bear witness to the fact that that is so true, that you can find yourself in the natural just saying, and I think a lot of times it's the enemy. I don't think I like this person. And then as you get to know them, they grow on you, and you begin to feel life in that relationship. And let me tell you why I pose this question. It's a very important question because what I'm concerned about, this was a great concern. My wife and I, when we lived in a place called Texas, they had these stringent rules. Nobody could date. Nobody could, it was just, and people were like 20, 25, 28, and they didn't have relationships. And my wife and I, we talked about it one night, and we said, this seems unnatural. This is just not natural. You got 28-year-olds, 26-year-olds, 23-year-olds, and it has nothing to do about age, but a lot of them were mature. A lot of them had some maturity on them. And I know that the furthest thing from their mind was getting in type of relationship because they always had these stringent rules that you shouldn't, let your parents pick the one or, God, and sort of that, what I consider some very important principles, but it was more legalistic than having the spirit of life upon it. So I say all that because some people do not know how to start relationships. So Ethan said something very profound. He said that dating has to do with deepening the relationship. So the question is, before I deepen the relationships, let's just talk about what I consider some of the stages of a relationship. Because how does one become, quote unquote, a boyfriend, or how does one, quote unquote, become my fiance overnight or in 3 days? I think something's wrong with that picture because like in everything, it starts in seed form and there has to be some progression, as the Lord waters it, it grows. But I think the very first step of any relationship is what I call the acquaintance stage. The acquaintance stage. In other words, if you don't find yourself looking around you, if you don't find yourself looking at the people that God puts around you and looking at the new friends that God brings in your life, if you don't find yourself looking at those people around you, you may not never be aware that the Lord is saying, beep, 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 beep. This one right here, is here for a reason. It's here for a reason. But I don't think many people understand the acquaintance stage. When I say acquaintance, what is one of the first things that pop to you guys' mind?
Well, I think of an acquaintance as somebody that I know, and I have their phone number, but I don't really call them constantly. And it's like, I see them sometimes just when I'm going out, it's like, oh, run into that person. Oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, yeah, okay, well, I'm going to keep going. It's not somebody that you really just deeply talk to and stuff like that, but you do associate with on occasions. That's a really good way of looking at acquaintance. You guys want to add anything to that? When you hear the word acquaintance, anything else come to mind? Oh, I guess you summed it up pretty much, Andre.
Yeah, pretty much.
But what happens when you see that person 3 or 4 times? You run into that person 3 or 4 times.
Oh, that's
you see? Then you wonder, why do I keep seeing this person? Or why do I keep running into this person? Because, nothing's by coincidence. I don't believe in God. Because the steps of a good man is ordered of the Lord. Now, just as I believe the Lord will bring something constantly in front of you to present to you, because that's what he did to Adam. He brought Eve to Adam and said, hey, I'm presenting her to you. Now, will you accept her? So Adam had to accept Eve before the relationship even started. And then when he said, oh, she's bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh, that was a statement by which he was saying, I accept this gift, God. I accept this woman, God. All right. But when we talk about acquaintances, do you find yourself having some friends that sort of very cheerful? When you get around them, they always sort of make you laugh, perk you up. You know, if you're down or if you're thinking about something negative or you may have been through a bad experience, when you're around this person, they sort of just lift your spirit. Do you have any friends like that?
Yeah, my best friend is a lot like that. Serious goofball, probably the king of goofballs. And when you're around him, everyone just seems to kind of, it's almost like life centers around him, but in a positive way, because that's just what he does. He just uplifts people, really, and you might be having a bad day, or it's almost like going to hang out with him is almost a vacation from something else. Right. Whether you need to get away or whether you just want to step out of the house as it was just to go, you know, new environment, and it's he does that.
Right, great. Have you ever met a person and you see him again and you say, hey, whatchamacallit? And every time you're around this person, you know, you just still don't know their name. You know, you just don't know their name. So you call them man of God, ladies, you know, what's up? You know, you make up names and it sounds really, you know, spiritual, or it may sound, you know, like, oh, I really like this person, but you still don't know their name. And I think that's one of the things that's a part of the acquaintance stage as well. We need to know a person by their name at least. Yeah. I mean, it starts there. You know, I don't think people like to be called, what's up, lady, or, you know, cuz, or big stuff, you know, little stuff.
Making up names.
You know, just making up every other name.
Hey, you.
Yeah, hey, you. Hey, you, what's up? Hey, you. You know, have you found that to happen where people just basically called you something else but not your name?
Yeah, I know when I started my cotillion program, not many people in the place, not many of the participants knew each other. And there's this one guy that, like, he was always trying to talk to everybody because he was just so fun and whatever. And, like, nobody could remember his name. And they were like, I know it starts with a T. And he just kept repeating his name. It's like, my name is Tavares, or all this stuff. So we were, like, laughing. And eventually it came to the point where everybody just started calling him Bob. And, like, he really didn't mind. It was just really crazy.
I'm sure his parents probably mind. You know? Like, why are they calling my son Bob? We didn't name him Bob, you know?
It was funny.
Yeah.
It was okay.
But that's all a part of the acquaintance stage. I think that you have to make it a point to, and this seems very practical, but I think it's very true. You have to make it a point to remember people's name and call them by their name. I know somebody's watching probably saying, oh my goodness, how practical can you get? But it's true, you know? Some people have to know this in order for them to get to the point where we're talking about right now called dating. Right now, we're just talking about acquaintances. Now, after the acquaintance stage, I believe you move into more of a casual friendship. I say a casual friendship. But what gets one to the acquaintance stage, to a casual friendship, to me, is when you start asking that person questions. Or if that person starts sharing with you, based on their questions, things that you're interested in, or you guys have some relevant things that you have in common, all right? That's how it starts moving from that acquaintance. Now we're moving more into a casual friendship, you know? Have you found any of your relationships like that? It doesn't even have to be with the opposite sex. I'm just asking you in general. Have you found yourself just casually talking to someone and all of a sudden the conversation turned to a subject or a matter or insight in which you both had something very much in common with?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I met a guy at school, and he's really good at math and things like that. And he's not super popular, but he's just got this really nice attitude about him, and people remember his name and talk to him and everything. And at first we were just acquaintances. First semester he was there or something like that. And over the course of time, like through repetition of seeing each other, we talked more and we found out we both liked this show, Fringe, you know, and we were both really into the sci-fi stuff. And that's right now just about the only thing we talk about if we really start to talk to each other. But, you know, at first it was just, hey, could you help me out with this math problem or something? And it was respectful and everything, but then we crossed over from that and found something we could like really get hyped up about, even if it was just briefly. And it's a lot of fun to just talk to him about that.
Yes. So that's where the connections are made in that moment of hype where you both like